So we're now on to turn 5 in Khyber Rifles. It's a mini game from the Decision Games mini game series, and it's May of 1842. So the Afghans select a card and they get the tribal raiding event. So this allows the recruitment of one Afghan unit, so another warrior unit is deployed in the town of Cherakar. Also, a total of 6 units can move this time, so Akbar Khan organizes a large force to attack the Kabul force in Jagdalak Pass, utilizing the trails again. And this is just what had been concerning the British player earlier. And I think maybe the British commander made an unwise move here. The Afghans have an elite unit, plus they have a bonus for attacking in the pass, and as a result, they win tactical superiority. And in the ensuing battle, they eliminate the civilians, and they panic the other 2 units, the cavalry and the infantry. So these retreat back toward the fort at Jalalabad. Then the British player draws the leisurely command event. So I think, as implied by the title of the event, nobody's worrying too much. We have a little bit of a laissez-faire attitude. So 1 unit is recruited, and 2 commands are able to activate. So General Nott's force sends the cavalry back to the fortification in Kandahar, and then Shah Shuja's force sends a unit back to hold the Khyber Pass now that Akbar Khan's warband has abandoned it. There's no contact, which is good, with the Afghan forces, so hopefully this will have been a wise maneuver for the British. We now go to turn 6. It is June of 1842, and the Afghan player selects a card. It's Loya Jirga, which is, since the card has limited effect, since Akbar Khan is not in Kabul, Jalalabad, or Kandahar, the Afghans won't receive any recruits from this, unfortunately. But on the positive side, all of the Afghan units can move. So the warriors and the cavalry in Charakar move to the town of Cantonment, and then the large Afghan warband marches into contact with the British units just due west of Jalalabad. And the Afghans have an elite unit, so they get a +1 die roll modifier on the tactical die roll. Both sides end up sacrificing a cavalry unit in the action, and finally the British infantry unit succumbs as well, and the Afghan warriors seize control of the area. Then the British player draws a card. It's the Mad Dash card. So 1 unit is recruited and deployed in Peshawar, and Elphinstone's units activate and deploy to Jalalabad and Kurram. And here I am trying to limit the number of casualties, so the British commander decides not to initiate any combat. The Afghan player is up now on turn 7. It's July of 1842. And he selects the Uprising card. So this is a card that can only happen once per game. So the Afghan player rolls 2 dice, and he's going to get that number of recruits. Unfortunately, the die roll isn't so great this time, and the Afghans only receive 4 new units. But all of the Afghan warriors can move this time, so Akbar Khan decides to launch an attack on the British in the fort at Jalalabad. The British do have an elite unit there and the fort modifier, but the Afghans have an elite unit modifier too. In the end, the Afghans lose a cavalry unit, but the British forces are wiped out in this attack, and Jalalabad is captured by Akbar Khan's warband. Then the British player selects his card. It's Retribution. So this is going to allow the civilian unit to be replaced, which that is a good thing. The British player deploys it in Kandahar. Then 3 British commands can move, so General Elphinstone's force activates, and the civilians are pulled out of Kandahar. Next, General Nott marches with his units toward Kalat, and his troops come into contact with an enemy warrior unit, so he decides to bring it to battle, and the Afghan unit is eliminated, and the British troops under General Nott managed to capture the open area just south of Kalat. Then we go to turn 8. It is August of 1842. The Afghan player selects a card, and the event is treachery. So the Afghan player has to note the British units in Kabul, which is a 5 victory point area for them. So these are forced by the event to retreat. Now, although there are no recruits this time, the Afghan player can move all of his units, so with a liberal movement allowance. So a fairly strong force marches into Kabul, and that's painful for the British. Then Akbar Khan brings another force against the weak defenses in Khyber Pass, and here the only hope for the British cavalry is to get tactical superiority and maybe be able to withdraw. The Afghans have the advantage of fighting in the pass. They have an elite unit, and in the end, the Timur Cavalry Brigade is eliminated. Well, the British player selects a card and draws the Relief Force event. So that's going to bring General Pollock's force into play. The Relief Forces brigades are going to arrive onto the map at variable intervals, so I have to roll a die for each unit and put them on their turn of arrival. So General Pollock sets up his headquarters in Peshawar. Then I have General Nott's force activate and launch an attack against the town of Ghazni. It happens to be garrisoned by an infantry unit, which is an Afghan regular unit. The British do have an elite unit, which helps them to gain tactical superiority, and in this battle, the Afghan unit is eliminated, and Ghazni falls back to the British. We go to turn 9. It's September of 1842, and the Afghan player selects the Balochstan Simmers event. So 2 units are recruited and deployed in Balochstan. I hope I said that right. The only Afghan units in this city are allowed to move this turn, so the Afghan warriors beginning in the town of Dardor are moved to face General Nott's infantry in the fort at Quetta. Although the British player gets the tactical superiority, I whiffed on the die roll, and then the Afghan forces destroyed General Nott's infantry brigade, and the fort falls. So that leaves the civilians vulnerable in the Kojak Pass. As the British player, I'm select my card. It's the Dismal Campaign event. Everybody's waiting around for orders, no directions being given by the commander, there's no recruits, and only one command can move. So General Nott's command marches into defensive positions into the fortifications at Kandahar and Kalat, and I'm hoping this will secure some victory points for them. Some of General Pollock's relief force brigades begin arriving too in Peshawar. Now we go to turn 10. It's October of 1842, and the Afghans select a card, and it's the Tribes Go Home event again. This time, though, only 2 warrior units disappear, so the Afghan player lucked out on that. He has no recruits, no movement, so will this give the British enough reprieve to recover his situation? I doubt it, but we'll see. The British player selects a card. It is Mad Dash. So more of Pollock's forces end up arriving at Peshawar, but only one command can activate. So I decided to have General Nott's force activate. The British infantry attempts to recapture the town of Quetta. The battle breaks out there, and the Afghans end up losing 1 cavalry unit, but the British units end up panicking and have to retreat to the north, leaving a band of Afghan warriors holding the town, which is potential British victory points. Now we go to turn 11. It's winter again, so this is 2 months are represented in this turn. It's November and December of 1842. And unfortunately, the Afghan player draws the Tribes Go Home event again. So 4 units disappear into the wilderness, and worse still, there's no recruiting, no movement, and the Afghans just have to hold their breath and wait it out and keep enough victory points to defeat the British. So the British player selects his card. It ends up being Not on the March. So that's going to allow General Not to garrison the forts at Kandahar and that area, and then he makes a desperate attack on the town of Quetta. The card says that Not's men cannot panic in battle this time, so that's good. And as a result, they are able to overthrow the Afghan warband in Quetta. Meanwhile, General Pollock is able to launch an attack at the Khyber Pass, and Akbar Khan has lost most of his troops in the Tribes Go Home event, so that's not good for them. The British forces, though, are out of supply here, so that's going to reduce their combat level. But either way, I think Khyber Pass is worth the victory points, so the British commander is going to take a chance. The Afghan leader's force is completely wiped out in the process of defending the Khyber Pass, and the pass falls back into the British player's hands. The British do lose 1 infantry unit, though, and since it is a regular unit, the Afghan player is going to get a victory point, so that's going to cancel out the victory point I got for capturing Khyber Pass. So the British don't hold Kabul, which is their most lucrative objective. That's worth 5 victory points, so that's bad. They do control Kandahar and some of the other forts and the Khyber Pass, and that gives them only 6 victory points, though. The Afghans have 8 victory points for the British losses, so they're 2 ahead in the victory point tally, and the Afghan player wins. So the 1842 campaign in Afghanistan goes down into the annals of history as a British debacle. Anyway, if you stuck with me this long, thanks for watching, and stay tuned if you'd like to see other games played in my YouTube channel. Have a great day.